Hey guys, Christian the Havercard Man coming at you guys with another deck profile today. Before we get into that, be sure to check out all the links down in the description to our Facebook, Twitter, and just whatever else. And also check out the Coalition of Scrubs while you're at it, a channel where me and several other Yu-Gi tubers get together and just make fun content for you guys. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this Ancient Gear profile today. And I know this is a deck that people probably think are obsolete, and really it catches a lot of people off guard. And I'm not completely done refining this deck, but I think it can see some really good potential, especially now that Master Rule 5 is out. I think this deck has a lot of chance to shine, and I've had nothing but fun playing with this deck. So let's go ahead and get straight into it. So most of our main deck revolves around just turboing out very specific extra deck monsters. But first off, let's go ahead and talk about what these main deck monsters are. So we've got 2 copies of Ancient Gear Golem and 2 copies of Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound. These guys are very essential because they are huge parts in getting off certain effects to be able to play fusion monsters from our extra decks, or even being specific materials for the extra deck monsters. So we run 2 copies of each just so we don't have to worry about bricking, because they are level 8s, so they're not super easy to tribute summon, because that's a lot of what this deck is revolved around, is tribute and normal summoning. That's what the original version of this deck is supposed to be about. Now I've made it where it's pretty much explicitly about turboing out extra deck monsters. So we've got the 2 Ultimate Pound and the 2 regular Ancient Gear Golems. Super good to have. We also have 2 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. If you guys haven't seen my discussion on this card yet on the Coalition of Scrubs, I'll have a link to it up in the info card at the top right here, or I will have the link to it down in the description if you guys want to go check that out and see my thoughts on Phantasme in Master Rule 5. I really don't think it's as dead as a lot of people say it is, but I will let you go watch the video to hear my opinions on that. So really just overall a good card. It's another means for like link fodder, and also to be able to shuffle out the garnets in your hand and be able to get the cards that you're actually looking for. Really just another effective searcher for your deck. Next up, we have 3 copies of Ancient Gear Wyvern, and we are playing this for the same reason we have 3 copies of Ancient Gear Frame, because it allows us to go straight into our fusion summons, because both cards essentially allow us to search out our Ancient Gear Fusion, which is critical in getting us to a lot of the plays we need. Not only does it make the deck more consistent, because it makes it a lot easier to be able to special summon any Ancient Gear monster from your fusion deck, but it also gives you the chance that if you can turbo out an Ancient Gear Golem on your field, or an Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound, you can use monsters from your deck as material, allowing you to get into the even bigger Ancient Gear monsters. We'll get more to that later. So we're running 3 of those because they are vital searchers for the deck. So essentially we pretty much have 9 copies of Ancient Gear Fusion in the deck, which makes this super consistent, because we especially have more stuff coming up later on that I'll get to. So next up, we have 3 copies of Silver Gadget. This is actually one of the better normal summons in the deck, because if we have this plus either an Ancient Gear Frame or an Ancient Gear Wyvern in our opening hand, we can pop off like crazy. Because the nice thing about this is that if we normal summon him, when he's normal or special summoned, you get a special summon 1 level 4 machine monster from your hand. And both our Ancient Gear Frame and our Ancient Gear Wyvern happen to be level 4s, meaning that Silver Gadget can not only normal summon itself, but special summon another one of those with it, and being able to get our search effect to go into an Ancient Gear Fusion. And he provides himself as more link fodder. So essentially you're getting a 2-for-1. It's kind of like the solid soldier for the Ancient Gears. Well, really just any machine deck in general, if we're being honest. So gotta run 3 of him, just super awesome for the deck. We also have 3 copies of Ancient Gear Gadget. Mine's bad. This guy is actually a really good machine dupe target, because when he's normal or special summoned, you can declare 1 card type, whether it be monster, spell, or trap, and then this turn, if a monster you control attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell, trap, or monster effects whatever you attack until the end of the damage step. So, and then once per turn, you can also declare 1 gadget monster's card name until the end phase. This card's name becomes that, which, I mean, that's okay. That's not, we're not running the gadgets in here otherwise. But it's also a 500 attack monster at level 4, so we can easily just play Machine Dupe and get the other 2 copies straight from the deck. And then we can also choose all 3 card types out of that. So if we're really going for the OTK, there's nothing they can do to stop us at that point. Once we've declared all 3 types and we go into attack, they can't stop us. That's just, it's game. Next up, we have 3 copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound. Another normal summon for the deck. We got actually quite a few normal summons. But the thing is, this counts as another fusion card in your deck because when it's normal summon, you inflict 600 damage to your opponent, so a little bit of bonus burn damage if you're playing for time. And then if it attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell cards, spell traps, delete the damage step, normal for Ancient Gear monsters. But then once per turn, you can fusion summon 1 Ancient Gear fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material. So it becomes a polymerization when on the field that it's not even a hard once per turn. That is a completely soft once per turn. So if you can find ways to bring him back out and play him again, you can use him for more than 1 fusion summon a turn. So that is all we got for the monsters. We'll go ahead and move on to the spell cards. We have 3 copies of Polymerization, so with the 9 different copies of Ancient Gear Fusion, essentially, plus 3 copies of Polymerization, plus 3 copies of Ancient Gear Hunting Hound, we have 15 ways in this deck to fusion summon. So if we don't answer with one of those in our opening hand, then wow, are we really unlucky. The odds are so stacked against you to not get a fusion card. Next up, we also have 2 copies of Double Summon, just because, once again, this is a normal summoning-based deck. Pretty much all of the main monsters in our main deck are normal summoning reliant, and they involve normal summoning to some extent. But granted, they're also to search to get us another card to give us into fusion plays. So really, just having 2 copies of the Double Summon, more than enough, gets you into plenty of extra things. We also have 3 copies of Ancient Gear Catapult, because if you open this, or plus Gear Town in your opening hand, it is full combo, just so you guys know. Because while you control no monsters, you can target 1 face-up card you control and destroy it, and if you do, special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So, if you open up an Ancient Gear Catapult with Gear Town, you play your Gear Town, then you play Ancient Gear Catapult to destroy your Gear Town. So now, with Gear Town, you can special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. This one does not ignore summoning conditions, but you can use that to pull out an Ancient Gear Frame or an Ancient Gear Wyvern and search for your Ancient Gear Fusion, and then your Ancient Gear Catapult will special summon an Ancient Gear Golem or Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound from your deck, so that now you've got 2 Ancient Gear monsters on the field, one of which being a version of an Ancient Gear Golem, plus an Ancient Gear Fusion, which opens up all of your fusion plays. So, because once you've got that Ancient Gear Fusion, if you've got an Ancient Gear Golem on the field or an Ultimate Pound on field, you can go into whatever fusion monster you want in this extra deck, making it a super powerful combo. So let's go ahead and we'll check out the next one here. So we got 2 copies of Machine Duplication. I brought this up earlier with Ancient Gear Gadget. It's just a way to get more monsters on your field, more link material, because there are a few links in this deck that can actually be really useful if we can't get directly into any of our fusion plays right away. Like I mentioned before, we have 3 copies of Ancient Gear Fusion, and just once again, this is a super powerhouse of the deck because you can use monsters from your deck as material as long as you're using an Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound or an Ancient Gear monster as material. So, really opens up the whole extra deck, makes things great there. Next up, we have 3 copies of Ancient Gear Fortress, just because this means your opponent cannot negate your normal or special summons of Ancient Gear monsters, and they cannot target Ancient Gear monsters with card effects, and they cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects when they are being normal summoned. During the turn, they are normal or special summoned. So it makes all of your Ancient Gear monsters basically invincible during the turn that they are played. So if you're going turn 1 and your opponent's got like hand traps, if you have an Ancient Gear Fortress out right away, they can't do anything about it. And then if this card is destroyed in Spell and Trap card zone, you can special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your hand or graveyard, and then you can also not special summon monsters for the rest of the turn except Ancient Gear monsters. So if you open up this plus Ancient Gear Catapult, it still is a fairly decent combo, but it's not quite full combo like Gear Town, which we are running 3 copies of Gear Town in this deck just for that combo because of how insane it is. So I should run a copy of Terraforming here. Actually, I think I'm probably going to cut a copy of that Double Summon and throw in Terraforming. I'm going to do that right now. So we're going to change that 2 copies of Double Summon to 1 copy plus a Terraforming. So there we go. That rounds off the main deck for you guys. We'll go ahead and hop into the extra deck really quick. So we are running 2 Chaos Ancient Gear Giants because this is honestly like the best fusion of the deck. Must be fusion summoned and cannot be special summoned by other ways, so, you know, that's whatever. But is unaffected by spell and trap effects, and your opponent's monsters cannot activate effects during the battle phase. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each, so you can just blow up a whole board in OTK easily with this one card, especially with his 4,500 attack point body. This is enough to beat over pretty much any boss monster in the game. And then if this card attacks a defense position monster, it does inflict piercing battle damage. So this is honestly almost as nasty as Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, because it is unaffected by spell trap effects, and your opponent's monsters cannot activate their effects during the battle phase. So that really shuts down a lot of stuff. Being able to attack every monster your opponent controls once each, and then doing piercing battle damage with a 4,500 body. It is so easy to OTK with this one card. So if you open up Gear Town and Ancient Gear Catapult, you can get into this guy turn 1 and your opponent can't do anything about it, especially if you have the Ancient Gear Fortress. There is nothing they can do to stop you at that point. Pretty much, it's over. And then we are also running 2 copies of Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Just another one that's really good to go into, because this guy can actually tag out. He, once again, does do piercing battle damage. And if it attacks, your opponent cannot activate spell traps until the end of the damage step, like usual. If it is destroyed, you can target 1 Ancient Gear Golem in your graveyard and special summon it, ignoring its summoning conditions. So it does have a floating effect to special summon an Ancient Gear Golem back to your field. And yeah, the Ancient Gear Golem's only a 3k body compared to this 4,400 body. But that is still really good, being able to just pull anything out like that. And it requires an Ancient Gear Golem plus 2 Ancient Gear monsters to be fusion summoned. So it's a good target for the Ancient Gear fusion if you can't, for some reason, go into that Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, which is just your boss monster. So, I mean, really, there's no reason to not go into that if you can. But at the same time, if you use this next one, which we have Ancient Gear Megaton Golem, if this is the one you happen to be able to go into on your first turn, if it attacks, once again, opponent cannot activate spell traps to the damage step, like normal for all Ancient Gears, for most of them. If it was fusion summoned using 2 or more Ancient Gear Golem or Ancient Gear Golem Ultimate Pound as material, it can attack up to that many times during each battle phase. So that's pretty good effect. It just requires 3 Ancient Gear monsters. But what makes this even better, if this face-up fusion summoned card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon 1 Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem from your extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So if you play this guy, if that's all you can play in your first turn, because all you have is 3 Ancient Gear monsters, it'll tag out into an Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem when it leaves the field. So essentially, you just trade out for a 3,300 body to go into a 4,400 body. It's just insane. Like, there is no way that there is going to be anything wrong with that. So next up here, we have 3 copies of Ancient Gear Howitzer. This is an insanely good fusion card. At first, I thought it was just stupid, because I looked at the stats and that was like all I really saw, is because it's 2 Ancient Gear monsters for a 1,000 attack, 1,800 defense body. So at first glance, it's really dumb. But it's unaffected by other cards' effects, including monsters. So monster spells and traps cannot affect this card. And then during your main phase, you can inflict 1,000 damage to your opponent, so really good for playing time. And then you can only use this effective Ancient Gear Howitzer once per turn for the 1,000 points of damage. That's fine. But if it is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, because it's unaffected by other card effects, so it can't really be sent that way. So if it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon 1 Ancient Gear monster from your deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. So basically, if you've got this guy on the field, you can either go into battle and destroy itself to special summon an Ancient Gear monster from your deck, and then you can use like an Ancient Gear Fusion or something else if you have that in your hand to go into a bigger monster like our Chaos Ancient Gear Golem. He's just really good, like, all around. I have nothing against Ancient Gear Howitzer. He's honestly a really good balanced card for this deck, and I love everything about him. So next up for the links, we have our normal Nightmare package. We have 1 Nightmare Phoenix, 1 Nightmare Cerberus, just really good for balancing and getting rid of really problematic stuff. We also have 1 Ancient Gear Ballistic Shooter. Really, I have yet to actually play this card, but he's in here because he's Ancient Gear, and he can actually do some pretty good things for this deck. So it is worth having and worth considering, but this next card is almost worth even more. We have 2 Predator Plant, Verte, Anaconda, which allows you basically just to pay 2,000 life points and use your Ancient Gear Fusion. And it makes it really, really easy to go into so many combos. Because if you have Ancient Gear Golem on the field, but you don't have your Ancient Gear Fusion, and you have the ability to go into Predator Plant, Verde, Anaconda, you can go off the full combo like normal. And this isn't really a combo deck. It's just building up a board with Chaos Ancient Gear Giant to destroy your opponents. Really good there. So we have 2 copies of those just as backup in case something happens to the first one for whatever reason. So definitely need to have that Verte Anaconda in here to go into Ancient Gear Fusion. Super handy. And so that's it for the extra deck. Oh, actually, I did forget the Apollosa, Bow of the Goddess. If you've just seen my card discussion on this on the Coalition of Scrubs, you know that I hate this card. I have it in here just because it's pretty much mandatory at this point. So anyways, that's all I got for this, guys, today. And thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I also hope to see you all in the next video. And remember to have fun and make your move. Peace out.